We're turning now to our top story. Jane Philpott, one of the Prime Minister's most trusted ministers, resigns from cabinet, saying she has lost confidence in the way his office handled the SNC-Lavalin scandal. This coming just weeks after former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould gave shocking testimony alleging Trudeau and senior staffers tried to pressure her to intervene on a criminal case against the Montreal-based engineering and constructing giant. Now, joining us now to dissect, political analyst John Wright, your pollster and a public affairs expert. Let's talk about these two resignations in a matter of weeks. How bad does this look for the Prime Minister?
It looks terrible, and it looks bad for the party. And I think over the next 24 hours, we're going to see this party go at each other in different camps. There's no question that that is about to take place. I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that this minister, in many ways, was the capstone of the cabinet. What that means is the person that did all the toughest jobs. I mean, healthcare, Indigenous, Treasury Board, very well educated, very well respected, does hard work. And I think what Mr. Trudeau suddenly got here is that capstone has moved out. It's got the cabinet now starting to divide into groups. You've now got gender division. I mean, he spoke about gender parity. Well, he's now going to get it. And what also is happening is that individual members of the party are starting to call the Prime Minister out.
Yeah, do you think we're going to see more of that? More MPs trying to distance themselves from the Prime Minister?
Well, I think what you're seeing now is the beginnings of factions within the Liberal Party itself. And that is heading in a direction that the Prime Minister and his people don't want it to go. I don't know how he can control this. And there will be interpretations. We saw a member from Whitby, in fact, who has announced that she's not running in the next election. That could be for all kinds of reasons.
Sure.
But when you get these things piling up, the Prime Minister may be one of the resignations that we see at some point.
The timing becomes questionable. So the Conservative leader, Andrew Scheer, is calling for Trudeau's resignation, but he also says he won't call a snap election if that doesn't happen. Why do you think that is?
Well, because I think they want to have the run-up to the election, but more importantly, you've got to give time for the other party to actually elect a leader. So let's just suggest that Mr. Trudeau, in the next 2 weeks, decides to resign. You've got to probably have a leadership convention in July or August. It's not a lot of time, but then you're heading into an election in October. So a snap election, I don't think anybody's prepared for that. He wants to see this Prime Minister go, so he wants to leave the leash out a little bit longer.
Do you think that would happen? Would the Prime Minister step down?
I think we're getting close to an atmosphere where that's going to be on everybody's mind. It's going to be on the people's minds within the cabinet, within the entire caucus, and I think now to everybody else who's watching this, pundits and otherwise, they're starting to see the rope get a little tighter, and he's got his former principal secretary to talk on Wednesday.
That's right.
I'm not sure that's going to help, but let's see what happens. But this is something that's not an easy fix at all.
Now, speaking of fall election, we mentioned we have the NDP federal leader, fresh off his win. He's one of the people calling for a public inquiry. Does this help the NDP in any way?
Well, he wants an inquiry so he can stretch things out. The Tories and the Liberals are tied at 24% in Quebec and at 22%. Just behind them is the Bloc Québécois, with the NDP nowhere to be found, and the NDP in Toronto, way down and in other parts of the province. He needs time. I'm not sure that's going to buy him a lot, but he's trying to lengthen this out. He doesn't want the Prime Minister to change right away or an election. He's trying to buy time so he can get some more support for him and his caucus.
All right, John, thanks so much for joining us. We'll have to watch and see how this unfolds in the coming weeks. Thank you.